Hey everyone, what's up? This is Corey with Burns Outdoors, and this is the first in a series of videos I'll be putting out over the next couple weeks on rod building. And I'm really excited about this. It's kind of my passion. This is what I like to do for friends and family and friends of friends. And I'm actually building a few rods right now, so this is why it kind of came up. I plan on building this rod and bringing you through the process of selecting your components and how you set them on your rod, and some considerations you need to have in mind or have made a decision on prior to buying your components or buying your rod blank. So what we'll do first is we'll just talk an overview of all the components that you need to build your rod from the beginning. Okay, so we're going to talk about guides real quick, we're going to talk about blanks, we're going to talk about reel seats, and we're going to talk about grips. And it's going to be a brief overview of everything, and then in later videos it'll get more and more detailed, and I'll talk about tapers and actions a little bit in the blank video. I'll talk about guides, material, kind of the benefits and the drawbacks of some of them, and I'll talk about reel grips, you know, your rod grip, and some component considerations that you might want to make to get your rod to where you want it. And same with the reel seats. We'll talk about different styles of reel seats, kind of things to consider when you go to build your first rod. So we're going to talk first about the guides, because it's kind of pretty easy to go over briefly. And so we're going to start here with a guide. This is actually a spin cast style guide. And the camera's kind of being funny with me right now, but what this is it's a high sitting guide. It sits high on your blank, and that keeps your line when it comes off of the spool of your reel from hitting the rod blank. So you're going to have added weight. You're going to have to transition over slower. You're going to have to transition slower down to your smaller guides. Okay, so spin cast has got some of that going on with just the guides in itself. Some of the differences between spin cast, as you can see, and a bait casting, which you might be able to see in this video here. The bait casting reel, bait casting guides actually sit lower to the blank. So you're going to be able to transition much more nicely to a small, tiny guide. It's going to be a reduction of rate of weight, but you're also going to have to take into consideration how many different guides you have to put on there to keep the guides or keep the line off of the blank, because when you load up that rod, that line's going to want to press up against the blank. Okay, so we'll talk more about that in a future video. So we're going to move on to reel seats here, and we got a reel seat, and it's a pretty good reel seat. This is just a graphite Fuji reel seat, and it's made out of graphite, obviously, but it's very simple, it's light, it's durable. These are great reel seats. So this is just a casting reel seat. It's got a little trigger grip, and it's kind of for comfort, and it's all a little bit of a preference. But you can build them, you can have them out of different materials, pre-formed, or you can even make them yourself if you have the right tooling. And we'll just go right into spin casting. So spin casting doesn't normally have that trigger. This is an ergonomic one, so it has that little hump where your palm will sit as you're cradling the reel in your hand, and then it's also got a little window to expose the blank. So it's very comfortable, it's nice to throw on a rod, and that's kind of what you're looking for, something nice, comfortable, easy for you to grip, and you're also looking for vibration transfer. The closer your reel seat is to the rod blank, the closer the connection is, whether it's from reel seat directly to blank or there's arbors in between. The closer it is, the better the vibration transfer. The less material that the vibration from the end of your line when you have a bite or when you're bouncing off the bottom, the better the transfer is to your hand. So the closer your reel seat sits, the better the transfer of vibration through the rod blank to your reel seat to your hand is. Okay. The next component we're going to talk about is the rod grip. And there's hundreds of styles out there of material and grips, the way they're formed and how they're shaped. It's unreal. They make them out of carbon fiber, they make them out of cork. This is a wind grip style. So this one actually is a straight grip rod grip, so it runs from the back of the reel seat all the way to the butt of the rod. And when I say wind grip, that's just the brand, and what that means is what this brand does is they actually wrap it in what you would normally see on a golf grip. So they actually do make some golf grips, but this has kind of got a tacky, no slip feel to it, and it kind of is very bulky on the end and narrows out to the back end where your hand can sit more comfortably on it, and it forms to your hand. So it's nice. It's in foam, and it's got that nice no slip grip. And this is another style, another material. This is just straight EVA foam. It's just a hard, dense material, very durable, handles being wet and water damage very well. It doesn't damage with water like maybe cork or wood would in the water and salt if you're fishing salt. And this is actually a rod that I built a while back, and this is a split grip. So we've talked about the straight grip and how it runs from the back of the reel seat all the way to the butt. We've talked about some of the material. And this is just another material and another style of rod grip. So this is actually wood. Now, wood's kind of nice. It's actually, it can be heavy depending on how hard of a wood you use. And then you have to take into consideration, is the wood porous? Is it going to take a lot of water? Is the water, how am I going to seal it? But it's an aesthetic thing. It comes out very nice, and it does transfer vibrations pretty well. So you have your fighting butt on a split grip, like what you see here, and then there's an exposed section of blank, and that's what a split grip is. Now, the exposed section can be anywhere from 2 inches all the way up to 6, or whatever is comfortable for you, really. So, I mean, that's just something you got to consider for what style of fishing you're going to do and how you like the rod to sit. Some people like it to sit all the way up into the crease of their elbow, or so when they swing into that hook set, they got that whole rod here and they got it up against their body, and it's just that much more torque that they can throw on that hook set. I like them short personally. I like being able to put them in my kayak or, have that extra room. I don't think I need that extra torque. You got plenty of leverage with the rod itself. So the next component that you have to consider is your rod blank. Now, this is probably the most difficult thing to pick out. There are so many manufacturers out there, so many different tapers, so many different lengths, and they're all good, and they're all good at different things. If you're looking to build a rod that's kind of good at everything, a 6'6" is and with what's called an IM6. And briefly going into that without getting too deep into the weeds in this video, IM6 is just the modulus of elasticity, and what that means is how flexible is it, how durable is it. The higher the modulus is on a rod, it's a strong rod. It'll bend, it'll flex, it'll do all those things, but it's also more brittle. So it can snap easier. You need to be careful about those kind of things. So you have IM6, which is kind of like lower range, up to IM10 is what I've seen. And those are just they're strong rods, they got a lot of backbone, they tend to be very fast actions, but they are brittle. So you have to consider that in how you care for your rod. They make great rods. They're also very, very light. The higher the modulus, the lighter it usually is in my experience. I don't know if that's a hard rule or fact. That's just something that I've experienced. So rod length, briefly, blank length. So here's how blank length translates for me. So the longer the rod, 7 foot, 7'6", the further the cast. It stands to reason you got all that leverage to throw your lure and just whip it out there. It's great in that way. But the other thing you got to consider is it can be, and it's not always, but it can be less accurate for those pinpoint casts. You're just covering a lot of water, and in a lot of cases that's good in and of itself. But 6 foots, what you'll find is you have more control over that tip, and you can really kind of just flip the rod and get that bait to drop right in a pocket. And you have that little, it also being 6 foot, you can underhand swing it. It's good for flipping and pitching. It's good for just kind of throwing your bait out there or even skipping baits. But that's also a preference thing. Some people like longer rods. Recently in wade fishing, I've seen that a lot of people prefer 6'6" 6 rods. When I would think, of my personal preference, I would want a 7 foot. I want that length. I'm not trying to pinpoint cast. I'm not sight fishing nearly as much when I'm wade fishing in Texas as I would be, say, if I was in Florida. So it's a matter of preference, it's a style of fishing, and the type of fishing that you're going to do. So the type of fishing plays into your rod blank is in, like if you're jigging, you're going to want maybe a heavier rod with a faster action. So you can really, you just set that hook home, and then you have that backbone to pull them out of the weeds. That's kind of like, you got to take those things into consideration. So really all the questions that your rod builder is going to ask you are going to focus in on the rod blank for you and what he's going to select for your style of fishing. And a lot of them specialize in the different styles of fishing that they tend to build for. So they'll be able to tell you what's great, what's a great blank for them, and you can make the choice from there. Some of them even have, if they do enough of those rods, they'll actually have loaner rods where they'll let you borrow the rod, and that's the question that you might want to ask about. But really, blanks just, we can go on and on and on about blanks, but it's all a matter of preference, your style of fishing, and some of it can go different from manufacturer to manufacturer. And that's clearly what this video is going to be about. We went through all this. It's what you need is a rod blank. You need guides. You need a reel seat. You need a rod grip. So very basic. What you need are those items. And really, you could build your own fishing rod, or you could have someone build it for you. And it's not that bad. So this next video, we'll actually talk more about the blank itself. I'm going to be setting up a rod that I'm building for a family member, and I'm going to bring you up from how I determine where I'm going to put my guides based on whether it's spinning or casting, to how I lay out the initial wrap. So I'm going to do a decorative wrap on this upcoming rod, and you'll get to see part of that. So I hope you guys subscribe. I hope you come back and watch these videos. Maybe tell me if you like them, maybe give a suggestion. I'm open to it. This is kind of my first video, my first go at it, so just, help me learn a little bit, and I'll help you learn a little bit. So subscribe. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you guys later.